You know, sometimes you just really want to go fishing, even when you know you shouldn't. Today is one of those days for me. Some of the conditions are really, really nice. It's super comfortable out here. It's upper 80s. I mean, I wish it was like 10 degrees cooler, that's for sure. Got a bit of a west wind, blowing maybe about 10, but it's kind of mostly cloudy and it's the right time of year. But here's the problem. We've got virtually no tide today. No range at all. I did scoot back here into the marsh and noticed that the tide is rising, but it's gonna quit soon and hopefully fall. So I'll have to endure a lull, but I don't have very long to wait at all. It is currently 3:11. Sunset right now is around 6:30 or so. So I don't have a long time to fish, but I'm gonna see what I can put together. That tide falls, I got confidence in finding some white shrimp and finding some speckled trout. But until then, we're just gonna work the marsh and see what we can find. All right, west winds have been blowing here for a few days, so the water, as you might imagine, is a little bit off. It's not terrible, but it is stained for sure. So I'm gonna start with this Candy Bug Zimmer Swimmer. Got that under a 1/4 ounce bullet weight. Right now I'm in the mouth of a windy bayou. I'm gonna work my way into it and throw this, concentrating on the deep bends. Water temp in here is 85 degrees. So it's about 5 degrees cooler than my last trip. We've been getting down into the 60s at night, and that's definitely helped with these water temps. Definitely wish it was cooler for sure. But 85 is a whole lot better than 90. Ooh. Oh, God. Well, good sign. Got a really good bite, but missed him. Not sure what he was. No telling. It's the worst part about missing a fish, just not knowing what it was. And then a crab got me. Look at that. Running through the baits. Not much to show for it. Well, it got me right below the hook. I assume it's a crab. You never really know. There's one. Redfish. I think a red. Yep, definitely a red. All right. Oh, nice red. All right. Come on, big boy. Come on, big boy. Looks to be, I'm gonna say low 20s. 22, maybe 23. Oh, almost dropped my rod. Goodness, that was close. All right, big boy, we're gonna net you. All right, we got him. There we go. All right, perfect eating size fish. And you can tell this water's a little off just by the color of this fish. Real muted, not super pretty. Believe me, I'm glad to have him. But you know when that water's crystal clear, you get those beautiful bright orange reds. This is not one of those. That's why I'm throwing this Candy Bug Zimmer Swimmer, kind of a darker color, shows up better in this water. He was hooked right in the top of the mouth. Wasn't getting away, just the way I like it. All right, that didn't take long. It was definitely a good start to the day. You know, when you've got less than ideal conditions, every fish means more. You don't take any of them for granted. You know, conditions are perfect and you're catching them every cast or close to every cast. You definitely take some of those fish for granted. That's why I kind of like coming on days with challenges, because, you know, you come on a day when everything's exactly right. You really have high expectations. And if you don't meet those, you feel disappointed. A day like today with this dead tide, I'm grateful for every fish, no doubt about it. And this bayou we're in has a surprising amount of grass. Surprising because this area really hasn't had a lot of grass since the salty surge from last summer killed it all. It's really had a difficult time bouncing back. But this bayou looks pretty good. We may end up catching a bass or two in here. Oh, there we go. I was just saying, although I think that's a red. I don't think that's a bass. Yep, another red. I don't feel like I got the best hook set on this guy. That's almost a rubber stamp with the one we just caught. Yep, rubber stamp. and just as feisty. All right, he's ours. We got him. Actually, this fish is a little bit smaller than the last one, but he's just as muted. Lacks much color at all, but I know he doesn't lack flavor. He's gonna be tasty. I tell you what, that underwater grass, which biologists call submerged aquatic vegetation, SAV, does so much good for the fishing. Not a coincidence for catching a couple fish in here with this grass in here. If you saw my last video, caught a ton of small reds, just a ton of them. But as I mentioned in that video, I felt like the smaller fish were biting, whereas the bigger fish were not because of that water temp. Oh, what are you? I got a bad hook set again. Don't know what this is. Feels like a speckled trout, maybe. Oh no, a little red. I was just saying. So glad seeing these little guys. Caught a bunch of these in the last video, actually a bunch of these that were considerably bigger than this, but still undersized. But I think these bigger fish are biting today because of that cooler water temp. I'm gonna tag this guy and let him go. All right, swim off, dude. Grow up. Hopefully you can see all that grass right there. Just such a good sign. If we hadn't had 4 days of west winds, water in here would look a lot better. Not bad, just could be a lot better. Probably gonna be pretty challenging finding that pristine green water that I love to fish today, just because of all the west wind we've had. And the reason west wind causes dirty water is because it dumps the water out, blows it into the Gulf, and exposes the mud banks. And that continued wave action on those mud banks causes a lot of silt to suspend in the water. How quickly the water clears up depends on a number of factors, one of which actually is water temperature. All right, I've reached the end of the line in this bayou, so I'm gonna make a run, go look for some diving birds. If this tide has even fallen yet, I don't know if it is. But if it's not, I'll figure something else out to do. There's a big lake near to here. Might fish the shoreline of that. Maybe we'll find a pocket of some clean water. That would be nice. All right, I made it to some water that's definitely a little bit better than what I left. Not great, not perfect, but pretty good. I'm gonna stick with this candy bug Zimmer swimmer, at least for a little bit, until I kind of surmise the grass situation in here. Ooh, there he is. That's a red. Oh yeah. That fish busted something on that shoreline. Oh, there's another one with him. There's another one with him. Too bad I don't have somebody fishing with me. I think this is a pretty big boy. He busted some bait up on that shoreline, so I threw right there, and he smoked it. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Now this fish, you can tell the water's a little prettier in here because he's a prettier fish. Oh, he's barely hooked. Goodness. You're not gonna get off, are you? Come on, dude. Oh, goodness. Got him by a whisker. We don't have him yet, though. Come on, dude, this way. Yeah, we got him now. Let me show you how barely this fish is hooked. Look at this. I mean, a whisker. Now, it's a tough piece of skin, but we're lucky to get this fish. All right. Yeah, look at that belly. You can tell he was eating. That was his downfall for sure. He busted some bait up on that shoreline, gave himself away. Really heavy fish. Candy bug Zimmer swimmer's the bait today. Makes sense with this little bit stained water and this cloudy sky. You saw my last couple videos, I used that glass blast, but the water looked better than this. Not the right water for that color. Definitely candy bug color. Look at that. Look at that. What kind of scale is that? Something smoked me. What in the world is that? That might be a trout or a small red. I got a terrible hook set. We'll see if we actually even get him. Oh, it's a trout. Look at that. All right, dude. You're not big enough, but glad to see you. Wow, it was a bad hook. Oh, settle down, dude. I don't want to destroy you. It's a bad hook set, but it was effective. All right, go ahead. See, you're ready to get free. So many of those 12 to 13 inch trout around this year. The current forecast says a pretty good cool front's going to come through at about, I don't know, 8 days from today, 7 days from today. And that should definitely inspire those bigger trout to bite. Also going to push more inside. There's some big ones around for sure, but a whole lot of those guys. And with them feasting on white shrimp on every falling tide, they're growing quickly, so they'll be legal very soon. All right, make a few casts with this green hornet matrix shad on a 1/4 ounce death grip jig head. This bayou seems pretty grass free, so I think we'll be okay with that exposed hook. See if they like this as much as they like that Zimmer swimmer. Oh, there's one. Speckled trout, I think. Yep. Yep, not a big one. Goodness, I cannot even tell you how hard this fish hit. So crazy. So crazy. This is probably a 10-inch fish. He would not have been legal last year. Unlike most of the ones we've been catching lately. That's, oh, missed him. Shoot. That little speckled trout. If we were still throwing that Zimmer swimmer, we would not have caught him because he was about as big as the bait. So now that we're in October, I'd like to hear from you. What is your favorite fishing month? Because October's way up there for me. It's definitely in the top 3. If not number 1, it could be number 1. Although I think probably I'd go with November as number 1. The advantage October has over November, however, is more consistent weather. November, you do get some pretty significant fronts that can mess fishing up for a couple days. But man, fishing is so good both of those months. So leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what your favorite fishing month is and why. The thing I like most about October is that, you know, I'm a marsh fisherman. This is where I hang out. This is my playground, stuff like this. And during the summer months, the keeper trout, for the most part, are outside spawning. So in these marshes, you catch reds, certainly. Catch an occasional flounder. Oh, shoot. Bunch of little trout in here. I keep getting smacked. And of course, you catch these marsh bass, which we haven't caught any of today. Another bite. Bunch of little trout. But you don't really catch very many keeper speckled trout at all. And the ones you do catch that are legal are just barely legal. But that changes in October. When these water temperatures cool, these marshes fill up with keeper trout. And it's just, man, everything's inspired to feed. The reds bite a lot better, the bass bite a lot better, the flounder are way thicker in the marshes, and then you have speckled trout as well. So it's just, it's a great month. What are you? It might be a bass, might be a trout. I think it's a trout. I think it's a trout, sure is. There's a bunch of these in here. Good night. Getting bit just almost every cast. They're just not big. Dinks galore. Oh, there we go. All right, they're fun. They're definitely fun. I mean, a trout this size hits like an anvil, much harder than most fish. Water temp in here is 84 degrees. Gonna have to get 10 degrees cooler or so to really get those bigger fish inspired. All right, that sun's getting low on the horizon, and that means it's time for me to call it a trip. Definitely a successful one, given the conditions with this complete and utter lack of tide. Barely trickled in the whole time, never did fall at all. It's gonna fall after dark tonight, what little bit it is gonna fall. But it's not the end of the video. I've got some special plans for these redfish. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with them, and I promise you, it's gonna be delicious. All right, my maternal grandfather was the type of guy who always had success on the water, and lucky for me, he took me fishing and crabbing literally every single weekend. We almost never missed. I guess literally, it's not an accurate word, but believe me, at least 40 weekends a year, we were either crabbing or fishing. And so when I brought home crabs, my mom would painstakingly pick all the crabs, pull the meat out, and make a dish that, I mean, it was just so awesome. I really haven't made it in so many years, but it's just such a great memory of my childhood, and really, it's delicious. It's kind of a well-known dish down here in South Louisiana. A lot of people make it, but I actually haven't made this recipe in a very, very long time. In fact, I had to call my mom and get her to look it up and see if she could find it. Miracle of miracles, she did find it, and so I'm gonna make it for you today. Now, here's a big difference from how I used to eat it as a kid. Of course, back then, my mom made it with crab meat, but I'm gonna make it today with redfish. I think it's gonna be great, but let me show you what I'm gonna do. All right, first off, we're gonna go through the ingredients. The recipe calls for 1 stalk of celery, but these are pretty pathetic, so I'm going with 2. We need an onion. We need about a quarter of a bell pepper. That's about what that is, about a quarter. Need a half cup of flour. Need a can of evaporated milk. Need a stick of butter. 2 eggs. We're actually just gonna use the egg yolks out of here, but we need 2 eggs. Need some crab oil. Now, if you're living in an area that doesn't have this, you can actually order it online. I know Amazon stocks it, but if you don't have some handy, you can definitely make this dish with some type of seafood seasoning like Tony Chachere's, something like that. That'll work fine. And we need some salt. And then of course we need the main ingredient. That's our redfish. I store my fish always inside of a Ziploc bag, covered with ice, in a bowl, in my fridge. It lasts easily 2 weeks. That's the longest I keep it, but 2 weeks after I catch it, it tastes as good as the day I caught it. So I'd recommend you definitely do this. So convenient, so easy, rather than defrosting a bag of fish. Also, it tastes a whole lot better. All right, I got a pot with some water in it. We're gonna get that boiling. I'm gonna pour a dab of this crab oil in there. A little bit goes a long way with this stuff, that's for sure. And then we're gonna add some salt. We want these fish fillets pretty seasoned, pretty much, you know, if you're from this area and you boil crabs, you want this fish to basically taste like boiled crabs. All right, that tastes pretty perfect. We're gonna put a lid on that so it comes to a boil quickly, and we're gonna get the rest of our ingredients ready. Oh, let me get this pan started heating up. Cast iron takes forever to heat up, so I like to really start that before I start cooking. All right, if you're the type of person who would rather chop vegetables than clean extra dirty dishes, you can just chop these up nice and fine. I'm not that type of person. I hate chopping vegetables, so I just throw them in a food processor. All right, go ahead and chop these up. Voila, much easier. All right, we're gonna put our butter in the pan, literally an entire stick. Now we're gonna throw our veggies in there. So actually, most dishes that call for crab meat are really, really good with firm flesh fish, which redfish definitely are. You can also use black drum, sheep's head, even flounder. You really don't want to use speckled trout. They just turn to mush. They don't hold together well, but those other fish really turn out with a similar texture to crab meat. All right, while those veggies are softening, I'm gonna go ahead and get my egg yolks ready. All right, there we go. One of them shattered, one of them held together. It doesn't matter in the least. Now you basically want these veggies to go until they're soft. So it's gonna take a few minutes, probably about 10 minutes. Just make sure that butter doesn't burn. Nothing smells better than the Trinity cooking in butter. Now of course, this is our gratin, which I think in French means with cheese. I forgot to mention, we need some cheese. I got this big block, or what's left of a big block, of sharp cheddar here. This is Tillamook brand, which is really my favorite. And for this dish, I can tell you the sharper, the better with the cheddar. Get the sharpest cheddar you can find. This dish naturally has a little bit of sweetness to it, and this sharp cheddar just kind of really balances that well. Now, most professional chefs will tell you mixing cheese and seafood is a big no-no, but that's fine. They don't have to eat this. I'll eat it. If it's 1/10 as good as the crab meat au gratin I used to eat as a kid, I'm in for a treat today, and I think it's gonna be. But at least that. There we go, it's a good amount of cheese. Now the recipe calls for a pound of crab meat. I don't know what that equates to in fish. And I don't have a kitchen scale, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna guess. I'm thinking 3 fillets, 3 redfish fillets. What do you think? 3 of these? That's what I think. It'll be about 1 pound. All right, there we go. Our water's boiling. Definitely ready for our fish fillets. We're gonna throw those in. Now we just gotta kind of bring these back to a boil, maybe boil them 2 or 3 minutes. We're gonna let them soak for a minute, absorb some of that seasoning, and then we'll be ready to treat them as crab meat. All right, our veggies are soft. We're gonna go ahead and start adding some flour. Don't wanna add it all at once, just wanna kind of mix it in, slowly blend it. All right, we got the flour all added and mixed in. So now we're gonna add our evaporated milk. Now this is not condensed milk, big difference. There's no sugar in this, so don't get condensed milk. And this you also want to add in steps. Now I always found it ironic when I made this, it kind of thickens all this up. You would think adding liquid would make it looser, but it actually thickens it up, forms it into like a paste. Okay, and our fish are now boiling. We're going to give those just about 1 minute. We don't want to overdo them because then they're going to get too soft. So definitely want to make sure they're cooked. Now, interestingly enough, to show you about shrinkflation, the recipe, which is literally from the 80s, so that's what, 40 years ago, called for a 13-ounce can of evaporated milk. Now this is a 12-ounce can. This is how they come now, but I'm sure it's going to be fine. All right, we're going to cut our fish off and let them soak. Worst thing you can ever do is overcook fish. I wish I could relay to you how good this smells. Man, it's gonna be delicious, I know it is. I remember being about 18 years old and making this to bring to my aunt's house for Christmas Eve. Brought some crackers with it for people to kind of eat it almost like a dip. Man, good times and just absolutely great food. I don't know how good I had it in South Louisiana, just eating great food all the time, just taking it for granted. Looking back now as an adult, I'm definitely grateful for the experience. I'm grateful to be carrying on some of these cooking legacies. This recipe means a lot to me, I'll say that. It definitely does. Hopefully I can do it justice today, all these years later. All right, that's the absolute perfect consistency. Turn the fire way down, I'm gonna add my egg yolks. Mix those in. Because you know what this dish needs is more richness. The stick of butter didn't do it. All right, we're gonna add some salt and pepper. All right, that's it for the gratin base. Okay, we gotta get this oven rolling. 375. We're gonna spoon out our redfish fillets. Okay, they're perfect. Just barely falling apart. It's about the right consistency. That's what I was looking for. I'm using a slotted spoon because I want to minimize the amount of that liquid, that water that I get in here. All right, we just chop them up. Want it to be about the size and consistency of crab meat. Looks like it's gonna be slightly over 1 pound, but that's fine. I don't mind it being crab meat or fish rich, rather that than the other extreme, that's for sure. This literally smells exactly like crab meat. All right, now we're gonna blend this in with our crab meat base, with our gratin base, I guess. Add the crab meat, the faux crab meat, with our base. All right, that's perfect consistency. So good, so perfect. All right, if you remember back in the 80s, everybody had a corningware like this. So in honor to do this recipe right, like I did in my childhood, like I ate in my childhood, I'm gonna use one of these old corningwares. I'm just gonna dump all that in. Okay, now we just smooth out the top. All right, now for the best part. Well, the second best part, I guess. The fish is the best part. We're gonna add this super sharp Tillamook cheese on top. This is definitely a rich, heavy dish. It's a great dish to eat before like a Monday night football game or something. You just go sit on the couch and do nothing. All right, the oven's at temp. Go ahead and add it in. 15 minutes from now, we'll be feasting. All right, here we go, it's ready. All right, how's that look? It looks good to me. All right, I'm gonna take a gigantic slice, like a whole quarter of the pan. Look at that, look at that. All right, crab meat au gratin made with redfish. Now, one thing I learned the hard way about this stuff, it's approximately the temperature of the sun. You'd rather eat hot lava than this coming straight out the oven. So I'm just gonna give it a minute. I'm gonna edit here, and I'll be back when it's a little cooler. All right, here we go. It's finally edible. Let's see how it is. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. If you didn't tell me this was redfish, I would have no idea. I would literally think I'm eating crab meat au gratin. It is that good. Just as good as I remember when I was a kid. Phenomenal. I have a feeling I'm about to overeat. All right, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the Marshman Masson channel on YouTube. And until next time, if we don't see you in the marsh, we'll see you right here on Marshman Masson.